Chiefs have given the franchise tag to Orlando Brown, and we're going to tell you why that's a good thing. And then what are the next dominoes to fall in the Chiefs offseason? Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope that you're ready. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Network. We're here every day just for you, and we are free on all the platforms, including YouTube, where you can like, sub, and hit the bell if you would do that for us. We appreciate you making us your first listen. Your second listen, I think you might actually enjoy the Locked On Draft Show because we do a lot of work there. Eric Crocker and I have a lot of fun. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, home of the Athletic Matrix, which is coming your way very shortly now that the Combine is done, as well as RGR Football and the LOND show. Lot going on. It's been a furious couple of days, hasn't it?
It has been a couple of furious days. My name is Chris Clark. I am the founder of Chiefs Corner. You can find all of your Chiefs salary cap and
that too.
Analytics and some advanced analytics and statistics at Chiefs Corner. Going to be talking a lot about the offseason and going to actually probably do an article about the Orlando Brown deal that was just made. They did, right before we started recording this show, they did put the non-exclusive franchise tag on Orlando Brown.
Yeah. What that means, folks, is he can, or his representatives can negotiate with another team.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to reach an agreement that he would like to take, the other team would have to agree to give the Chiefs 2 first-round picks. Count them, 2 first-round picks. Now, depending on who that team is, if somebody like the New York Jets wants an established player, that could net them a top 5 pick. They do that, they can go take one of the top new tackles in this draft class and still get themselves somebody to protect Patrick. I don't think that's a possibility. Do you?
You just want to throw things out there and see what you can stir up. No, I don't see that as a possibility.
I'm trying to head off all the questions that will come.
No, that's fair. And I will say this, I think the thought process when they traded for him is that they were likely going to be franchising him this year, regardless of how he played, because unless he just bombed, which we didn't figure was going to be the case, and he didn't, he played very well, especially down the stretch. I think that this was always the plan, is to franchise him, and then you're going to use this time to sign him long term.
Yeah,
because now you have him
and I'm perfectly comfortable with this.
Yeah,
and I'm perfectly comfortable with this. And that's the thing, is this is a good thing, folks, because it allows you to protect and have your left tackle in place. He's under your control. Like I said, you have the ability to either accept the 2 firsts or match an offer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in the meantime, they can continue to negotiate. Mm-hmm. And that's the key, is you lock it up and you set yourself that, hey, let's take a breath. You're going to be here. You're going to be with us. We trust you enough that we want you here. I think this is actually just a solid play, because you could see them giving him, or him demanding, that is, a contract that's going to average in the 18, 19, 20 range, when the tag is rumored to be what, 16 and a half?
16.62. 16.662.
That's cost cutting. That's a cost cutting measure. B, that allows you to work a long-term, right? Yeah, like if you were just going an average. But B, it lets you negotiate what they've done lately in a small initial year, stack it out as the expectation of the cap to grow, right? Like this allows them really as many options as they have, right?
Yeah, it really does. And then you look at the fact that there are some other things we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show, specifically how this affects Patrick Mahomes, how it's going to affect Frank Clark, and all of that. I really don't see Orlando Brown Jr.'s contract getting done until at least June 2nd, and we will talk about that a little bit later. But the thing that this also does is it also puts them in place, if they are able to draft a left tackle, not a left tackle of the future, but like a swing tackle, which is a position that you and I have both agreed that they need.
Mm-hmm.
This gives them the ability to put him as the starter when you get into OTAs, because more than likely Orlando's not going to be there unless he signed his franchise tag. Some guys do, some guys don't. True. So hard to know what they're going to do in that regard. But it could be a benefit for Kansas City, because somebody could step in and get all those snaps, and that could put them ahead.
Although I would argue that this should be a transformative year for Orlando. So I would like to see him, and I would not be surprised to see him sign that tender and just be like, okay, we're good right here. We can continue negotiating, but I'm going to practice. Because I thought like we saw that initial half of the season that was a little rough, and we saw some progression towards the second half of the season that I thought was pretty significant for him. Now it's that leap year. It's taking that first offseason to be completely in the mix and really adjust to what is a pass first offense versus what he came from.
And I agree with you. I think it would be good for him in that regard. It's really hard to know what a player is going to do until we see it happen. Some players don't like the tag. Some players hate the tag. And we've seen that play out in Kansas City in multiple different ways over the years.
It certainly has. And I think, again, that this gives them an anchor point. Could they, if they're worried about Niang, they can go and get a right tackle. They can just get a swing. They cannot worry about the offensive line at all if they feel comfortable having both Orlando here and Niang healthy. That certainly could be the case, which allows them to address the defense in a much more, I think, direct fashion. I think we've talked about the wide receiver. We'll come back and talk about that tomorrow with Matt and later in the week as well. But again, folks, what this is versatility, that you have your bases covered at the left tackle spot and you can see what you get done. You can take the long bet or the short bet on what Orlando Brown is going to be able to do for your offense. And if you wanted to lay those props, you could go do that at BetOnline. That's the easiest way to do it, whether it's for football now that the season's over. There's some interesting options out there, but also for basketball that's about to hit the high gear here when March Madness begins, as well as all the other sports, and eventually baseball will play a game or two. So you guys that are waiting for that, get ready. It's going to be fun. All you have to do is go over there, check out their scores and podcasts and news and all their new section on their new website. And you can hit from a mobile device and learn all the trends in action, get all the info that you need to lay your money down on the line in a smart way that protects you. It's all over at BetOnline where the game starts. So my question to you is, I think I know what I think, but what's the next domino to fall for you in your expectations?
I think that this means that they've already restructured Patrick Mahomes' deal. I think that they probably already redid the roster bonus that he's due, which is $27.4 million. They can spread that out to be a signing bonus. And that's going to create, close to $20 million worth of cap space in 2022. So I'm guessing they already did that. The key here, though, is if you're looking at the team cap space going into this season right now, it's just a little over $10 million as of this morning. And it looks like maybe it's even updated since then. But at a little over $10 million, oh no, they already that's what they did. They already put in the Orlando Brown cap number. So right now they're showing a negative cap number of $5,420,465. This morning they were at $10,536,535. And yes, I'm pulling this from memory. That's how much I'm into the cap. So sorry. But what this means,
this is why I don't do it, folks.
What this means is they're going to create all that cap space with Patrick Mahomes' contract. But I guess the one thing I do want to throw out there as a caveat, I am not saying they can't go and do any kind of free agent moves, but just creating space with the Patrick move itself basically pays for the Orlando Brown tag, and maybe $3 or $4 million more, maybe 5 or 6, just depending on how you spread out that bonus. So it's possible that they're going to get a little bit of cap space from it. Maybe they can go to $14-15 million of cap space with that restructure. But there's still another big domino yet to fall, and I think that's going to be something that they're going to need to be looking at later on.
Yeah, and we'll get that to that a little bit later on too. But let's talk about what it does and when it will come. And like you said, it may be done already. Maybe they just haven't announced it, or it hasn't hit the official numbers. But what that is taking Patrick's roster bonus and converting it. So technically, is it a restructure?
Technically.
Okay. But what that does is relieve them of the cap, right? You still have your prorated bonus that you have to pay out. But that's why this contract was designed this way. This is all what I want to emphasize today for everybody listening. And if you're new, make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell over on YouTube. And we're free on all the audio platforms. So if you're hearing this embedded on a website somewhere, make sure that you subscribe as well. What this means is this is going according to plan. They built Patrick's contract to be able to do this. It does have some ramifications in the later years, but this is what they wanted to do so that they could get some of these things done. And I think, honestly, they planned for this 2-3 year gap until all the gambling money and all the TV money starts to hit. And by 23, 24, they should have pretty largeable chunks of increase in the cap number that should alleviate any pain that is related with any of these contracts, including Patrick's.
Well, and I will say, I think the other thing that's really throwing some of this off is when they signed this deal, they didn't know COVID was coming. And COVID, I hate talking about the subject, but the truth of it is that COVID had a huge impact on the NFL and the amount of money they were able to bring in when it came to stadium deals and ticket sales. And that is still a portion of what goes into the contracts and the CBA and the money that's available. So not having that money, they had to keep the cap a little bit more stagnant than they're used to doing. So I do think that there are going to be some large jumps. And I think that they were expecting a larger jump in 2022 than what they're getting. But you play with what you have to, and this is what they're having to deal with right now.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Absolutely. Long and short is this is probably not the last time we're going to see this happen. We should see this pretty soon, and it sets up the tag. Now, if they are able to get another contract actually formed with Orlando, then that just gives you the opportunity to keep his base low and actually reduce the salary number from the tag, which get them even more space. But overall, these are the main pillars, right? And we knew when Tyron was not going to return, at least not initially. So my question to you is, do you think that the gap here, like you said, you could get up to 14, 15 right here? I don't think that's earmarked for Tyron possibly coming back if he finds a market that is not up to his liking. I think that's earmarked for a wide receiver. Do you agree?
I think it has to be earmarked for a couple of different positions. I think wide receiver is one of them. And if I'm looking at this right, I apologize, I was wrong. The restructure will give them $22 million. So they're gaining about $6 million from where they were. And I will say this is the other caveat, and this is the other thing that could really affect their cap. Sounds like they're working on a deal with Tyreek Hill. We've heard 4 years, $85 million. Structure is going to play a big part into how much his cap number is this year. And that's going to have a big effect because his cap number right now is just under 21 million. So if they get that down by, 8 or 9 million a year, that also significantly could add space.
Yeah, that makes a big, big difference. Now, that's not the last of what could happen, but this is setting up, again, the dominoes is the first couple of clicks. Once it gets rolling, that allows them to bring in all kinds of potential free agents. One that will not be in that group is Calvin Ridley. I think we told you that a week or two ago.
I was wondering if you were going to mention that. Yeah.
Well, I've already gotten a ton of questions about it. And I told you all last week on RGR, there's no way I'd be touching him anyway. A guy that walks away from his team in season due to whatever mental issues he had, whether it's confidence, whatever it is. That's not a guy that's prepared to walk into a new team in a new city and hit the ground running. So I wasn't going near him before. This takes it off the table. That is one option down in the wide receiver corps, but there's still plenty others. And I do think that they will be stomping the grass for them to use this cap space that they're generating.
Yeah, and I'm really curious, how do you have that thought process of let's make a $1,500 parlay bet and risk $12 million? Because that's basically what he did.
Right.
Big questions, but obviously he's not going to be playing in 2022. And I'm not going to say he won't play in 2023, but there's a possibility he won't. If the NFL wants to make a statement with it, and just to throw this out there, since we have been talking about the cap, his contract actually tolls. So his number completely comes off the books for the Atlanta Falcons. It just basically acts like 2022 did not even happen. In 2023, he will still be under contract for another 11.6. So if he gets
basically like the opt-out years.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
And there is zero cap implications at all this year for him because it's just all wiped out. So that's interesting for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm sure they're going to appreciate the cap space, but big question for
Matty
Ridley.
Ice's $48 million. Yeah.
Yeah, no joke. That's a big number.
The Chiefs are not the only team with some cap issues. Obviously, we can joke a little bit about the Falcons, but there's still more to do. And there's another domino to fall. We're going to get to that right after this.
And I want to tell you about our friends over at Rock Auto. RockAuto.com is the place you need to go. They have all the car parts you could ever need, and you need to go check out their website. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could need in brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in there. How did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Now, parts are what you need when you got to repair something. There's been a need in Frank Clark's life to get repaired, and he is the next domino to fall. A lot of conjecture right now in the fan base. Right, exactly. A lot of conjecture about maybe is it. I don't see there's any way that they can restructure this in a satisfactory way that allows them to get the cap relief they have to have, no matter what. Do you see a way around that?
I mean, if you restructured his contract, the max you could restructure and get right now is about $9 million. So unless you're just completely rewriting the contract and adding void years and throwing out the base salary, which is possible, you could possibly do that. I don't think Kansas City is going to go that direction with Clark because I don't see the value there.
Right.
What I've been saying since we got into the offseason is I completely see Frank Clark being a post-June 1 cut. Now, that doesn't mean that he will still be on the team until June 1st. What that means is they would cut him in the coming days before free agency starts. And I do think it's key that they cut him before free agency. And the reason that's key is because you don't want to be holding a player that you know you're not going to be able to have on the roster and not allow him to go chase other money. That is not a good look for your team. And I know a lot of people,
but it doesn't give you any advantage, right? The salary doesn't come off. You don't get the cap relief until
I was getting there. Yeah. No, that's absolutely correct. No, you're good. Yeah, you're not going to get the $19.5 million of cap space until he actually comes off the cap on June 2nd. So even if you cut him and you do a post June 1 cut, that 19.5 you can't do anything with until after June 1st. So that is why I do not see Orlando Brown getting a long-term deal until after June 1st. Yeah. I would also say that the draft class isn't probably getting signed until after June 1st. And any of the other additional people that they want to bring in after the draft, I would imagine are going to be post-June 1st offers.
The only issue I have with that is there's OTAs in May. You'd like to have the rookie class in there. Now, they can participate, but that's generally
they can sign
frowned upon.
They can sign waivers.
Right. And that may be exactly what it takes. But the release garners them what, 12 in cap relief?
Okay, so if you cut him pre-June 1st, that would give you $12.7 million.
Okay, 12.7.
But if you cut him in post-June 1st, it's 19.5.
Ah, okay. And so, that's a huge chunk.
Right. And basically what happens is that $6.8 million difference between those two numbers is a number that is going to get carried onto the cap in 2023. So you have 6.8 that's going to count in 2022 and 6.8 that's going to count in 2023 because it's all part of his prorated bonus that he signed when he signed the return or when he signed as a Chief. So that's also going to be something to watch when you start looking at what Orlando Brown gets. Yes, salary matters. Yes, APY matters, but it's really going to come down to guaranteed amounts, and it's going to come down to where are his bonuses, and are they building in any bonuses that maybe he will need to hit certain thresholds to get?
Mm-hmm. That is a big question. And so right now, yes, you can let the player loose, you can take that, but you don't get the relief. So it hamstrings you in the first wave of free agency, just a bit. There are other moves they can make. You know, there's other money coming out the books, but it's not significant. So that kind of limits you. So I could possibly see even if we get wind of them in touch with a major free agent, maybe it's a wide receiver, and they quote unquote have a deal on the books, it may not actually come to fruition before the first until they get that cap relief. That would take an area of trust from that player as well as the team. But all things are possible at this stage.
I would say that's highly unlikely. Kansas City can go do restructures with Chris Jones, Joe Thuney, Travis Kelce. Between the three of them, they could free up close to $25 million.
Is it? Okay. And then,
So, I mean,
like you
they
mentioned,
could
the
make
Hill.
right, and that's not even including Hill, who's on the last year of his deal, so you can't restructure with him. So it's a
Right.
matter of
But you
you
can
have to get
extend.
him signed to a long-term deal, and I'm guessing they want to sign him before free agency starts, so they have an idea as to what his cost is going to be.
Which is, do we
But
have a countdown clock for free agency yet? Because I can feel it coming.
it's next week, dude. It is next week. It is so close, and it's going to be
Yeah.
great. I'm excited about it. I do think that Kansas City is going to make a play for at least one or two big free agents. I don't know who they're going to be and what positions they're going to go after. I don't think it'll be where you would expect in defensive end. I really can't see them making a play for a high price corner unless it's their own guy. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they do.
Folks, that is 9 days from now. So be aware. It's
Yep.
March 16, starting that afternoon. The tampering period has already begun because the combine has come and gone. So there's all kinds of conversations, legal or otherwise, happening. So we will let you know when we know more. But this is
Well,
it. This is the start.
and just really quick, there's a lot of questions to still make when it comes to exclusive rights free agents that they have to figure out, restricted free agents that they have to figure out, and if they're going to bring back any of their own free agents. Is Byron Pringle, and I'm just throwing him out as an example, is Byron Pringle a guy that they're going to give a contract to before free agency starts, or are they going to let him test the market?
That's the question. Same thing with Javarius Ward.
Yep. Lots of questions there.
There are a lot of questions, but this is where it begins. The Tyra news, now the Orlando news. Next will be Patrick and Frank. We should know that coming here within the next 9 days. That will all set up what happens at free agency, which we will touch on tomorrow with Matt Derrick, as well as his takeaways from the combine. We're going to get deeper into what are the options, because I feel like as we go forward, some of the decision making by other NFL clubs is allowing more scenarios to come through for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I got a couple that I'm really working on that I'm really interested to see if they pull those off. We're going to get into that later in the week as well, and coming at you next week. Hope that you guys dig this. Chris, are you ready for sleepless nights as we get raring for free agency?
I've already had sleepless nights, so yeah, been there, done that, and like I said, I'm going to have a lot of stuff when it comes to new deals being signed by the Chiefs because I think that's a lot of stuff that people want to know about.
Absolutely. Check that out on Chiefs Corner. You can follow it down there underneath Chris's name on the other side if you're on YouTube. Make sure you check out RGR Football. It's where I'm laying out all the athleticism stuff, and you can find all the matrix, the draft guide, the production stats. I have all my brand new, like, animal-related production scenarios. I've been working on this for a couple of years. I'm releasing it for the first time this year. You can check that out on rogueapc.com. Lot coming at you. Thank you for spending your time with us. If you'd like, sub and hit the button, we would appreciate it. And we will be back with you tomorrow